issues, and we're so happy that you're going around the province lending your voice to the water issue. 13 cities, another week. They're pretty good. They must be pretty popular out there if everybody wants them all over the province. And I'd like to introduce you tonight to someone who needs no introduction. That's the President of CUPE Ontario, Sid Ryan.
Good evening, sisters and brothers. Paula, thank you very much for that very warm, kind welcome introduction. There's a few people I got to mention because I don't often get the opportunity to thank the CUPE team for all the great work they're doing organising. Yolanda McLean, you've already met Yolanda, a fabulous job of organising tonight. Thank you very, very much. Joanne Webb, thank you very much for your greetings on behalf of the Aboriginal community, and I want to come back to that issue in a few moments. The sister I haven't gotten an opportunity to thank on the road is Maureen Giuliani. Maureen is here, I know. Our Secretary Treasurer, Fred Hahn, everybody knows Fred Hahn. Anthony Shelton and Louis Rodriguez, and I see Stephanie, Eileen and Kelly over here from our office as well. So I just wanted also to make mention that we have the President of CUPE Local 416, Mark Ferguson, whose local is responsible for the water treatment plants here in the province. Sitting beside him, a great sister and a real water warrior is Shelley Gordon, a researcher. Shelley, great work, thank you very much. And when we finish here, we're going to go into a question and answer period. There's two sisters in particular who have great knowledge of what's taking place with respect to the water treatment system in the Toronto region, Sister Bogina Martina and Gina Janak. So if you wanted to make it up to the microphones when we get finished, you'll get an opportunity to say a few words about what's happening with respect to the City of Toronto. By the way, I'm informed by Mark just a few moments ago before I came up here that yes, we won the battle 10 years ago with Waterwatch. But it looks like that the battle is coming back again. There are some folks at City Hall talking about the possibility of privatising our wastewater and water treatment plants again. So even though we'll be celebrating the 10th anniversary of that, we know, well, Paula says we're not going to let them do that. And that's why we've got good, strong, progressive councillors that we support as well. So between councillors and the Council of Canadian and the Canadian Union of Public Employees, I'm positive we can win this fight again. Where CUPE comes to this, of course, Maude talks about the Council of Canadians being citizens of this great nation of ours, and of course we are unionised members of society. Canadians are citizens and CUPE members are citizens, and we're also members of unions, so we're interchangeable in many, many ways. Maude, a few moments ago, gave me a nice little segue actually when she talked about NAFTA, and I just have to talk for a few moments. I know I embarrass her on every time we make a presentation when I talk about the contribution that Maude Barlow has made to Canadian society, and she did first come into my consciousness and probably many of yours back in 1988 during that great debate around the free trade agreement when we were attempting to stop the free trade agreement from devastating our country. Maude, of course, was on the right side of that issue. She debated with Bob White at the time, who was the president of the CAW, on national television, and she debated Tom DeCino, at the time was the CEO of the Canadian Manufacturers Association, and Peter Lougheed at the time, who was the Premier of Alberta. And that was a very, very significant debate. Unfortunately, we lost that election marginally, and Brian Mulroney brought in a free trade agreement. At the time, we said we would lose hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs in this province, and of course we did. And I just want to say, you know, thank you, and I hope you will join me in thanking Maude Barlow for the contributions that she has made to Canadian society and indeed to that free trade debate. We are obviously in CUPE, we believe, to be the perfect fit for the Council of Canadians. because we've got 225,000 members in this province. But more important than actually the numbers that we've got, we're in basically every village, every hamlet, every city, every community across this province. We're in your hospitals, we're in your schools, your universities, your long-term care facilities, your social service agencies. There's no place really basically that goes untouched by CUPE members. And of course, bottled water is on sale or being used in a lot of those facilities, and we're just so proud of the City of Toronto, of course, for taking that very progressive move there a while back to ban the bottled water. John Wedrup is here, he's the president of Local 4400, and John, I'm not certain if the school board has actually put a ban in place or if they're even looking at it or not. In a lot of communities we've been to, there's very few of them where they're not either actively working on a ban or they don't already have a ban in place. In Guelph, for example, they were taking a look at conducting an audit of all of their public sector buildings to see how many drinking water fountains they actually should install. That was the approach they were taking. After listening to Maude's presentation, the Mayor was in the hall and she was explaining what they were trying to do in a phased-in approach to getting the bottled water out of their communities. A few days after we left, we heard that she made a statement in her council chambers to say that they're actually moving to a bottled water ban. And that's just one of those communities, but there's been many of them. For example, the City of London passed a motion a few nights after we left London. They were one of the first cities, major cities of its size in Canada, to ban bottled water. They had some councillors working very closely with the Council of Canadians. They've got a great chapter down in the London area, and the CUPE locals have a very active campaign also. They work very closely with City Council in London, and they're now bringing a resolution forward to the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the governing body basically of municipalities all across Canada. Now, not to say that they're going to pass it, but at least they're moving the motion and they're forming alliances with other like-minded communities like Guelph, hopefully like Toronto, and many more as we progress through this campaign. So you can begin to see already the successes we're having. The real surprise to us, I guess, is the amount of school board trustees that we're coming across in all of our communities, and school teachers bringing out class loads of students, and in the university sector, of course, they're very active. So we're really delighted to see school board trustees coming out, listening, taking the information back, and high school teachers bringing in class loads of students. We know now that this campaign is beginning to catch fire. Now, in the school system, we've got a real problem with respect to drinking water fountains, which are basically rendered inoperable. And I tell a little story about the Jesuits, but before I go there, I don't know what it is about this campaign, but it seems to me that I've gotten religion on this campaign. I've been in so many churches, like, 3 or 4 United churches. And as an Irish Catholic, of course, a recovering Irish Catholic, growing up, it was like a mortal sin for a Catholic to be seen in a Protestant church. So, but having been inside of United Church, it's probably a venial sin. It's not quite as bad as going all the way into the Protestant church. But in any event, growing up in Ireland, the Jesuits would always say, basically, give me a child to the age of 7, and I'll show you the adults. Basically, what they're saying is the children at that age, up to that age, whatever you learn or whatever you teach the children at that age, they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. And it's why we get so upset when we see vending machines and drinking water fountains rendered inoperable, or they don't put the money into repairing these machines inside of our school systems, because we know the message the kids are getting when they see the vending machine beside the drinking water fountain, which is no longer in use. The message basically is what comes out of that tap is bad for you, and what comes out of that vending machine is good for you. And if you take that Jesuit analogy and carry that on through, they've basically got these kids for life. It's pretty much like what the tobacco industry do with teenagers. They particularly go after teenagers, young women in particular. And again, the black